Meh. Meh. Um, so, the Underground is a community of microchurches. And what'd you say? Who said something? It sounded really good. I just heard someone say something really good. Oh, that's it. Yeah. Look at you get a gold star, Kelly Emmel. But one of the things that's unique about us, one of the things that's different maybe about what we do, is that we're not just a decentralized network. We centralize a couple of things in order to sort of maximize our impact communally. And one of those things is money. We pool our money in order to be able to accomplish certain things together that we couldn't accomplish alone. And this really is, I really can't overstate this. This really is central to how we work and how we function. The missionaries who are a part of this community, who both benefit from it and who believe in it and who participate in it, we pool our money. This is something we do. So every year we'll try to put together a budget, which is kind of like a dream budget or a target budget that we want to pray towards and offer to you as a proposal of what we could do with our money. And so that's what this is in the paper in page 4 and 5. Does everyone? It doesn't look like you have your papers with you. Is there a way to put it on the screen? Is that possible? No, it's okay if not. Yeah, it's too late. Never mind. That's enough for me. Yeah. Are you convinced? Are you sold? It looks really good. That's a big number. So what I've done is I've broken up this into what is 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 categories. Translocal grants, local grants. So we give, the majority is really those two categories. We give our money away. So any money that you give toward the Underground, toward this common budget, will go overseas. It'll go to really high quality work around the world that's a lot like us. In other words, if we were there, we might be doing something like they're doing. And so we're trying to support, particularly in places in the developing world where a little bit of money goes a long way and accomplishes a lot for the kingdom. And then, of course, locally. So I think if you don't have your paper out, which almost no one does, this is not going well. Thank you back there. Good for you. I think one of those people doing that just now was my mother, so I don't think that really totally counts. But so translocal grants. That's do we have the pie chart thing? Can we put that up? At least you can see how the money would be broken down. Is that legible? Can you see that? But there's no actual numbers in the actual. Here's what we don't spend money on. PowerPoint presentations. Well, I'll tell you. Translocal grants is this is the proposal, $161,000. Local grants, $131,600. So you can see those two kind of represented on the left, I think. And then movement services includes things like part of my salary, Jeremy's salary, communication, office supplies, publicity, insurance, employer tax contributions, special events, expenses, web subscriptions, that kind of thing, the internet you're using right now, equipment, Crucible stuff, printing, copying. That's kind of what I put in that category. And movement services, that's $99,800. And then, let's see, another big one would be facilities and event services. So that's like this building. All that goes into having a co-op space like this to share. We have to fund that. We have to pay for it so that people can use it either for free or for very discounted prices, and it's really much more money than that. But this represents sort of what is left and what we're asking the community to contribute to pay for that. Media services 19.2, financial services 21.6. Training and development services, 44.4. Those include salaries, or portions of salaries for all the staff that serve you and serve the microchurches and so on. I hope this isn't news to you, but this is what we do. And so once a year we have to kind of look at that. We have to recommit to it. We have to decide what part we'll play. Part of my dream when we started the Underground, part of what I was tired of being a part of a traditional church form, was always being hit up for money in every single church service I ever went to. Not just that an offering was passed or that there was the opportunity to give, because of course giving is a profoundly biblical thing to do, and every Christian should be generous and should be giving their money away often. But it just felt to me like the system was set up in such a way where I had to sort of be cajoled every single week to give, and it just got old. It got tiring. Furthermore, I never knew where the money was going. They kept telling me it was for God. They kept telling me I was supposed to bring the tithe into the storehouse of God, but it looked a lot like a weird church building with pastel colors and salaries I didn't know about, and I still could never find out what the staff made, what money went to where. It was all very mysterious, and that also was frustrating. So we began to dream. Imagine a community where you could just say, okay, you talk to God, and you ask God what you should give or can give. And then you tell the people in leadership, this will be my contribution. As far as it is up to me, as much as I can, unless there's some catastrophe or something, you can count on me for this amount of money per year, this year, per month, per week, whatever you do. And then we add that up. It's very simple. We add all that up. Everybody says what they'll give. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody. This is part of my dream. That you don't have to like force people, or you don't have to convince them, or you don't have to make test the Lord and see, because it's the only place in Scripture is to test the Lord. And so you should, and just know, and you'll be blessed in the windows of heaven. And I have to convince you that it's actually good for you, because then if you give, you're really giving to yourself somehow, because pressed down, shaken together, running over, shall God give to you. And so really when you give $10, you're really going to get $100. So it's really a get-rich scheme is what tithing is somehow. It just all is wrong. It's all wrong. So what if we just said to each other, we could covenant with each other and say, listen, this is the amount I want to sacrificially give to this common goal, this common purse. Count on me. And everybody did it, and we added it up, and that was the amount of money we had to work with. And we, as faithfully as we possibly could, being as good of stewards as we possibly can be, gave away as much as we possibly could, only took the little bit we need for salaries. So most of the staff that are represented in this budget that serve you full time, including me, take very little from this common budget. So I think my portion for me is like $13,000. Most of the other staff is even less than that. And so that's not the total amount I make. We raise money from other people, but it's right and fitting also for us to take a little bit from the common purse. But we don't take more than we need. This is. I don't know. I've never seen another sort of budget in a Western church context that's a better steward than our budget. I haven't seen it. I haven't heard of it. That's been confirmed by other people. I don't know of a better place for you to give money. That's just kind of practical and so on. So I still believe in that, although my belief has been a little shaken recently, because it still feels a little bit like I need to persuade you. And I wish I didn't have to do that. I wish this didn't have to be strained. Most of us have some sort of love affair, affection with the early church. And the early church wasn't perfect, but it was pure. I think that's a good way to put it. It was pure because it was close to Jesus. It was close to Jesus in proximity and time. A lot of people in the early church actually knew Jesus. They walked with him. So something very inspiring and beautiful about the early church. And for a lot of people like us, we want to tell that story, the story of the early church in history. We want to be like them. We want to find a way to sort of recapture the heart and soul of the early church, that Acts 2:42, when they were, devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to the breaking of the bread, and to the prayers. But one of the things the early church did, which I don't know that that Westerners particularly love, is they had a thing called a common purse, where they would actually pool their money. They would share their money. And when there was need, they would just take out of the common purse what they needed. It actually said that they held all things in common. So even property was held in common. Now that broke down pretty quick, but it was one of these initial urges that the people closest to Jesus had. And all the things we try to do with money and all the ways that we talk about money in the church, it feels to me like we always stay away from that. We kind of have arm's length from that one principle. And I think that's a shame, because there's something very beautiful and very freeing about the idea of just putting our money in a hat together and saying, let's just use it as it needs to be used. If I have extra and someone else has less, we can draw from it or maybe give more. And I think that what that offers us is the possibility of freedom. Freedom from materialism, freedom from possessiveness. And I think giving is about freedom. I also think giving is about worship. It's an act of worship. It's a mandated biblical act of worship. So for those of you that still don't give anywhere, any money, anywhere, I need to correct you in the Lord. That's inappropriate. As believers, as disciples, you need to give money, actual money, not your heart, or, you give that too, and not, well, I give my time. Yeah, give that too, because actually, what I read in the New Testament is all of your life should be offered to God in surrender. Everything you are, everything you have, all of it. Giving is about worship. It's about common mission. It's about us looking at each other and saying, all right, what can we accomplish together? And we're trying to accomplish that together. And we can do more together than we can do apart. It's one of those things, if we'll pool our money, we will be more effective with our money. We can actually accomplish more. There's a sort of synergistic quality to that prospect. And here's the thing I've never really said to you. And so I'm going to say it tonight. And I hope it comes out right, and I hope God is in it somehow, but giving is actually about responsibility. You have a responsibility to me, and I to you. We cannot say that we're a family. We can't say, for example, that you would like to receive money from this budget, because a lot of you are in this budget, but you don't want to give anything to it. That's hypocritical. It's wrong. And you can't, what also isn't appropriate is to sort of be like, this is amazing. Because I've heard many people say, this is incredible. This is how the church should spend money. Amen. And I say, okay, so what do you want to do? Well, I don't want to do anything. We have a responsibility to each other. And I'm, the millennials can crucify me afterwards, but you have a duty when millennials were polled and asked to rate values, the word duty doesn't even occur in the top 100 values for things they think are valuable. Duty feels wrong. Duty feels inappropriate. We don't want to be dutiful. We don't want to have a duty. This kind of sounds like something a kid would do in his diaper, you know. The more you say it, the more it's, did you do a duty? Billy did a duty. Anyway, it's an important word. We have a responsibility to the economy of God. To put in what we can, really all we can, to put it in. And then, yes, to draw from it. When there's need, to draw from it. It goes both ways. I think everybody likes the idea that we could draw from it. Both your ministry or the ministries that you love or support, and in some cases, even personally, you're raising money and we're contributing to your cause, your support. Your family, your community is putting money in to that cause or that support. Have you ever had a friend that you wanted to get him a certain birthday gift, but you couldn't afford it, so you went in together with each other on that birthday gift, whatever birthday gift you could afford alone, it wasn't going to be very good. But if you all went in on the same gift, you could get a cool gift. This is what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about we're going to pass the hat and everybody just give what you can toward this great thing, this gift we want to give. Or better than this, anybody in college ever worked on a group project, and then there's that guy, that guy, who doesn't want to do anything on the project. Maybe you're that guy, that's why it's quiet right now. So somebody else is doing all the work. But guess what? That guy wants his grade. He wants the group grade. It's never happened to you? Every single group I was ever in, there was a slacker dude who didn't want to do anything. And actually, I think he was sabotaging. I think he acted so dumb that actually you were just like, I'll do it. Don't worry about it. He's like, he act like he can't do it so that you don't want him to do it. So he's like, okay, well, that's fine. You guys can do it. And then you feel like he feels like he's doing you a favor or something, and you do all the work for him. It's not appropriate. We all want to be a part of this thing that God is doing, and this is a part of how we do it. This is a part of how we express that. We take part. We give what we can. Now, what I'm not saying is some figure, because how would I possibly know what that is? And it wouldn't even be appropriate for me to imagine or wonder what that would be for each of you. Only you can know that, and only you can interact with God about that. But I need to stress this to you. I think you should give something. I don't think it would be right for you to give nothing. We have a responsibility to each other, and we have a responsibility to the world and to our brothers and sisters all over the world who labor in abject poverty. And a little bit of our money can build churches for them, can pay salaries. I can pay a salary in the developing world that's $80 a month, and that person will go from being in total poverty to surviving. That's where that money can go. That's why we spend so much of our money that way. Because even in our own kind of common purse, we realize we are indebted to the church at large. We're indebted to the people of God and the family of God. Even people we don't interact with, we're indebted to them. It's about responsibility. This is our common purse. That's what this budget is. It's our common purse. And it's about giving from our hearts to those in need, in part, but more than that, it is a commitment to each other. It is a commitment to each other. And I think that's what we need to remember in June when no one's talking about it anymore, and you made a $100 a month commitment or a $500 a month commitment or a $20 a month commitment or whatever you made, and it's hard. And no one's talking about it, no one's going to twist your arm. But we remember this is something we do for each other, with each other. And we must do it. It's part of what it means to be a family. Well, some of you have lived with other people. I have for most of my life lived with other adults. and we often share groceries and things like that. I just can't imagine somebody eating all the groceries and not contributing to the grocery bill. Can I have an amen for the intentional community people? You can't be like, bro, do not eat my Lucky Charms. You never give any money to the groceries. Now, listen, maybe some of us don't make as much money, so we can't contribute as much money, and I think that's totally fine and appropriate. And even when we all know each other and look each other in the eye and we live like that, we don't expect everyone necessarily to give the exact same amount. But if you have the money and you're eating the Lucky Charms, that is messed up. I just can't imagine a scenario where anyone would be okay with that. But we've so anonymized our money and the way we work with money. We don't talk about money. It's very private. It's like you don't talk about people's weight or how much money they make. It's just, or how old they are. You don't do that. And I just think that we're harmed by that, because we should be able to talk about this as freely as we talk about anything. What's the problem? It's just money. It's just money. There's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to be scared of. It's just something that we use to express our values and the things that are important to us. And you know what? Cell phone is important to you, so you will pay for it. You will have a cell phone this entire year. Netflix is important to many of you. And so you will continue to have your Netflix. And there is no judgment here. I have a cell phone and I have Netflix. But I also give as much money as I possibly can to this communal common purse, because I believe in it, and because I'm part of it, and because I both receive from it and I give into it. And that's just, I think, part of what it means to be a family. You know, we put in what we can, and it wouldn't be right for us to keep taking and not put anything in, especially when we have a responsibility even to the wider world and the people of God around the world. I think too that some of us maybe don't give or haven't given or give very little because we've believed, and I may have contributed to this to some degree. We've believed that giving was heroic in some way, that it was extra. That it's kind of like, man, if you could give, you really should give to these poor people and all these things in need. And so you think, on the day that you make your pledge, you're like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll lay down. I'll be sacrificial. I'll be a hero. But then halfway through the year, you're like, well, I don't have to do this. I was just doing this to be heroic, and I don't really have it, or I don't, the money isn't really quite there. I think one of the things that maybe the traditional church has gotten right is this idea that you should give your first fruits, that actually the money that you've committed to give to the common purse, to the kingdom of God, to the work of God in the world, should be the very first check you write every month. Not the last check, not the third check, the first check. And that if money's tight or things are tough, it affects your cell phone, not your giving. It affects your entertainment, not your giving. It affects your Starbucks habit, not your giving. And guys, young Christians, I love you guys so much. I pour my life into you and out for you, and I have so much respect for the Spirit of God inside you. I hope you know that. But guys, you've got to learn that. We need to learn that. And some of you old-timers also need to remember that as well. It should be the first thing we do. Partly because of that responsibility, part of that command, partly because it's worship, and also because, guys, it will be the best check you write every month. Of all the money you spend on your life, that will be the very best money you spend. I promise you. And our covenant to you, there's no more excuses. We can't say, well, but they wasted over there. That just goes to excess or something like that. You can't say that. I mean, when the senior leader, when the executive director is taking $13,000 from the common purse, you can't say that I'm getting rich on it. You can't say that any of our staff are getting rich on it. So, Jeremy. So there's no reason not to. And we will, I've made this covenant with you every year, and I hope you believe and know that I've kept it. We will break our backs to spend this money as frivolously? No. Frugally. I will be as frivolous with this money as I possibly can be. Jets, caviar, frugal. Was that a Freudian slip? frugal with the money as we possibly can be. In other words, what I've always said to you is, I promise you we will not waste your money. We will not waste it. We make mistakes sometimes with money, and so money does get lost, but it's such a small margin. It's not that we're perfect, but we work very, very hard not to waste your money that you give, because we know it's really important and it comes from the kingdom. And we are responsible to you for how it's spent and how it's used. I read recently that Steven Spielberg doesn't really like to watch his movies, and I can understand that. You know, you spend all this time making a movie, and you sort of toil over each scene, and it's just, to him, he doesn't want to look at his movies, with one exception. He said he likes to go back and watch his movies with his children, because he can see it through their eyes, and that he enjoys. Some of you heard me tell the story, but a couple months ago, I don't know, we were just talking as a family, and I heard that it sort of came out that Skylar, who's our youngest, number 6, has never been on an airplane. And I want to say he's 6 years old now-ish. Anyway, so he's never been on an airplane, and so I thought, man, we have to fix that. We've got to do that. So we were going to be in South Florida, and we drove down to South Florida, and then I thought, you know, Monica, if it's okay with you, I'm gonna get a flight for he and I, just a little 1-hour flight back to Tampa, and just so I can take him on a plane. So there was really no reason except to just give him a plane flight. I just wanted him to have that experience, and I wanted to be there with him. And guys, I hate airports now. I mean, I'm so worn out, so beaten down by airport air, airport food, airport people, airport chairs, airport life, you know. But I do remember a time when it was cool. Do you? You remember when it was cool to go to the airport? You remember when it was fun to, it's adventurous? Some of you are still there. Bless you, bless you. Hold on to that as long as you can. I just despise the airport. But there I was with this little boy, my son, and I started to get excited with him. I started seeing the whole thing through his eyes. I mean, each aspect, like first when you go and check in and you get your boarding pass, and he was just like, "Whoa, what is this? This is amazing." And then you go on the little shuttle thing, the little tram thing, and you're like, "Whoa!" He loved that. He was just, at Tampa Airport, they got that little cool little train that just goes, I don't know, a block or wherever it goes to the next thing, and he's just like, "What is this amazing ride?" And we sat there in the window, that window seat, and we just watched it, and I was like, to me, it was amazing. And then we get to the security line, and he's like, "What is going on?" And I'm like, IDs and passports and being checked, and the little light, and the guy with the scary, and then you go through the metal detector thing, and they scan your body, and it's amazing. And each thing that was happening, I was like, it was happening again for me like it was the first time. And then we walk on the jetway, whatever those things are where you walk, miraculously above the earth to get to the door of your plane. And I explained to him what it was, and we looked through the crack of it. He's like, "What?" Because, it goes right up to the edge of the plane, and you can look through the crack and realize you're just sort of hovering above the earth to get into this fuselage, which just looks like it could never, ever, ever be in the air, and it's about to be in the air. And then you sit down in these chairs, and you open up the window, and it's wonder. All of this is wonder. And every little thing, I was excited. I never talk to anyone on planes. I'm so antisocial. I'm antisocial, period, but on planes I get more antisocial. I put my headphones on. I put on eye things, everything to say to the world, "Please don't talk to me. I don't like you. I don't know you. It's bad enough that you're going to touch me at some point during this flight." And so I do all that. I don't want to talk to anyone, and I'm the opposite. I'm like talking to people. It's his first time. It's his first time. It's his first flight. Isn't this exciting? Everyone. I call over the flight attendant. I'm like, "It's his first. Like, can we do something for you? Get some wings or something? Can you have extra peanuts? What can we do here?" She's like, "Oh, it's his first time," and I'm sure she's tired of this too. You know what I mean? But she puts on that face. "Oh, it's your first time. Yeah, good for you, and this is so great." I think we were more amazed by it all than he was amazed by it until that thing takes off. And how many times have we been in that situation? But it is, whatever that is, the coefficient of drag to whatever the physics of it, it's a miracle. And there we go, off that tarmac into the air, and you feel the force of that thing and those jet engines next to you, and you look out and you see the world below you get smaller and smaller, and you realize you're a part of a miracle. And I only see that because he's seeing it, and because I'm sitting with him and watching it happen, and it's good for me. It was good for me. He's good for me. This budget is a wonder. It represents blood, sweat, and tears. It represents sacrifice. It represents all the work you do, all the work these people do. It represents a new way to do church. It represents a new way to operate with money. It represents a new level of integrity. It is prophetic in the world. This is something we've done before. This is a very ordinary meeting for us, and yet it's not ordinary at all. It's a miracle. And we are that thing, this American church. We're Westerners, and yet we have the opportunity here to take this impossible thing, a group of like the greediest people in the history of the human race, Americans, the most stingy with money, and to say we're going to be different. We're going to let go. We're going to be one thing, one family. We're going to covenant. We're going to commit. We won't be by compulsion. It won't be through guilt. It will be because of joy and cheerfulness. And it will be because we believe. And it will be because we're part of it. And we have to give to the thing we're part of. We have to. We have to. And maybe if this is a new thing for you, maybe to you and through your eyes, and maybe I need to remember again that this is actually a wonder. This commitment we've made to each other, this way that we do things, it really is amazing. $600,000 is a lot of money for us. And when we really break down what each person is probably capable of giving, it pushes us. It pushes the envelope probably of what we can do. But I have quite a bit of faith that actually this is the correct number. And there's no way to really know that. There's no way to kind of just go one by one and talk to you and figure out. It falls to you. It falls to you, autonomous, individual, powerful Christian person who has a living relationship with Father God, if he has called you to be a part of this family, then you have to answer the question, all right, Lord, what's my part? What am I supposed to put in there? And all I'm asking, all I'm saying, like I guess you could say as like an older brother or as a spiritual leader in this community is, give something. Please give something. And if I were to, I just assume that if I were to go to any of you and say, would you help me? I really need $100 or I really need $1,000 this year. I bet you, every single one of you would do it. I bet every single one of you, if I looked you in the eye, you would say, okay, Brian, I trust you, I love you, I'll help. And maybe you couldn't give the 100 or maybe you couldn't give the 1,000, but you would do what you could. I know you would. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm asking you, face to face. And I dream of a community where we don't have to do more than that. We don't have to twist your arms. I don't have to preach every Sunday about it. I don't have to burden us down because the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of wealth is so strong in us that we constantly have to be railing against you like children, like babies. I just don't believe that. I trust you more than that. I have more respect for you than that. I just think this is enough. We have a little dinner. We look at what we're trying to do. We remember who we are. And we say, okay, I'm in. And maybe you need to crunch some numbers or think about it. So there's no pressure. It's not something you need to do tonight. Tomorrow would be good, though. We are going to actually take up little pledge cards because we do that. It's a ceremony. It's fun. It's also an act of just, I don't know, a emblematic sort of symbol of our commitment to each other. We actually do that. But that's not that important. You go online. Is that up there? There's a place you go online. You can just make your pledge there. And that's probably what we prefer rather than writing on cards because all of your handwriting is quite atrocious and it's very hard to know what you wrote exactly. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Let me just open it up for questions because this should be an open meeting. This should be a time where you can ask questions about the budget or about how we're using money or really anything you want to ask, family, business, time. Feel free to jump in. Okay, David. How did we do? Well, so the budget that we projected or proposed was 620,000. We came up very short of that in terms of pledges. I think it was like 580. Brooke, is that right? Huh? 550. Okay, my bad. So that was like a step back for us in terms of pledges. But 70% of people gave, 80% of people gave. See, I believe in you, so I always inflate the numbers. 60% of people fulfilled totally the pledge that they made. And then what happens is, and it's a higher number if you go like 75% or something like that. It's closer to 70 or 80%. So we did pretty good on that. And then there's always new people that come in, and then there's always people that just sort of see us from afar and they give a little money. That happens too. So, but if it were not for those people, we would not have made budget this year. So just on our kind of giving, we came up short. We always come up a little short, but there's these sort of angel donors or something that usually bail us out somehow. But we made budget this year. We're good. We were good this year. It's usually a very tight margin, but we almost always make it. We have always made it. Yeah, Richard. You feel torn between giving to two things that you care about? Is that the question? You want to get like a pass and come back later? Without offending anyone? I have that problem all the time. I just do it. So you're like object to us giving to navigators? Is it? All right, think about it, Richard. When you formulate your question, I'll come back to you later. What else? Come on. Yeah. Yeah, new. Anybody want to help me with that? Brooke, is there new global partners that we've added this year? Japan, Fabio, and was it? Yeah. All right. And we have taken some off because for us, the giving always needs to be about real relationships. So it's important that so sometimes we'll give to something we think is sort of exemplary or great in hopes that it will generate a relationship internationally. And if that doesn't sort of materialize, that's okay. We've made an investment in those people, but we're constantly looking for places where we can have real strong relationships. That's part of how we determine what to give to and things like that, right? It'd be nice to know like stories or ways that the money's being used. Yeah, so on. Well, first thing I would say is I think we have improved in that quite a bit. I still think we have a ways to go, but not to be like a teenager here, but I'm going to blame shift a little. Part of that is your appetite for communication, not yours, maybe, Ryan. But it feels to us it's hard. Like you don't want to hear from us constantly on a million things, and we have a lot of things to kind of communicate with you, and it's hard. It's hard to even get word. For even a conference like this, it's hard for us to get the word to you. So if you're on Twitter, that's huge. So like we've put out constantly on Twitter stories and things about the people we're supporting and the money, where it's going, and stories about things like that. So Twitter is great. It's easy. Again, if you're not on Twitter, I'm not trying to force you to be on Twitter, but if you want to know stuff, at least with us, I mean, you could get on Twitter and just follow one person. You could follow your mom and Underground, and then you just always know what's going on with your mom and with the Underground. Okay. Here we go. Great, important question. So what the commitment we made was if we could raise this $500,000 to build out this building, that we would effectively take those donations and we would pay them back over time in what would have been rent. So we would build up a fund and then spend that. So basically, spend the $500,000 twice. And so we've made that commitment, and we've been doing that commitment. So I want to say we've spent maybe $200,000-ish, something like that, on projects so far. The orphanage in Zambia is one. Also, the orphanage extension on Amazing Grace. Is it Maggie? Amazing Grace, Amazing Love, Amazing Grace in Kenya. So we gave them a new kitchen and new dining room. That all got built out for them. We just paid a 5-year lease on a 4 home little I was going to say commune. That's not right. Complex. That's not right either. English is hard sometimes. I come up short here. Compound. Boom. Score. Compound, like a 4-house compound. We just paid 5 years lease on that in Manila, Philippines for the movement there. So it'll house the primary staff and also be a place for training and also be a place for their missionaries to office and stuff, like a hub for the Philippines. So that money got spent out. And we're working on a few other projects too. So that stuff is getting communicated on Twitter as well. So keep, get on the bird and that's separate. It is global. Yes, exactly. It's not separate at all. It's stupid. But it's sort of like would have gone toward rent, I guess you could say. So we pay a very low rent for this building because I negotiated something with the lawyers where we bought it at like a warehouse price. And then we pay like a super cut rate for this space, even though now it's worth, the market rate for this is $30,000 a month. That's the market rate for this building. So if we were in a building like this and wanted to rent it, it would be $30,000 a month. We pay $6,000 a month because that's the deal your boy worked out. But that only lasts 5 years. And they told me, there's always bad news. They told me, Brian, they brought me in. They said, Brian, are you ready for this? Because at the end of your 5 years, it's going to go up. It's going to go up to, he said $28,000 a month. And I was like, it has been nice knowing you. This has been a treat. Moving on. So I don't know what's going to happen in 3 years from now, but we might be on the move again. And that's fine because that's us. That's Underground. And we worked this out. And so instead of paying, say, $12,000, $15,000 a month in rent, which would be about appropriate for us for our budget, we're paying $6,000. And then what we're doing is we're taking the other $6,000 and we're trying to spend it around the world, which is the promise I made, and we're going to keep that promise. It may take a little more than 5 years. It may actually take 6 years on the kind of the clip we're on, but I promise we'll keep that, and we'll continue to keep you posted on that, apprised of that, and thank you for asking, Ugo, who's now gone. I looked up and he was gone. Man, you don't even let me finish. Okay, I was like, what else? Okay, all right, Mom. Yeah, we there's some weird, like, for some reason, weird reason, the number $13,200 like inserted itself into 5 different ministries. That is our bad. I don't know, explain it. I blame it on the devil. I know it's just a hard day. George sent me a text. He's like, "Am I going to feel like Miss Columbia here?" Yes. You get 13,000. No, you don't. No. All I can say is I'm sorry for that. Please forgive us. It was a very honest, simple mistake. I don't even know why that number particularly. This is a weird number. But there it is. What else? Come on, get me out of this. Okay, Dan. Just a few more minutes. Hang with us. Okay. Yeah, so in the beginning, in the early years, we did this sort of 20% thing where we had these 5 categories. And I think part of the reason why I was doing that is to kind of be prophetic, to say we're gonna take these things and we'll make sure they're always, so it's like 20% global, 20% local, 20% to catalytic things, 20% to services, 20% to whatever. I feel like we've matured. I feel like we've evolved out of that. I feel like I don't need those kind of constraints, and neither do you. Our values are what they are. I always want to show you what we're doing with money so you can see for yourself. And the truth is, we're giving more than 20% to global and to local grants. So that's just what I want to do. That's what we want to do. That's what we feel is appropriate. And I just don't want to be confined by that anymore. So what I'd rather do is just show you what we're going to do. And if you believe in it, then you support it. You go in for it. It just felt it started to feel a little legalistic, and if I'm honest, I just start moving things around. Like it's all how I label it anyway. So why do that? I didn't want it to be artificial. I want it to be real. So this year in particular, I'm glad you asked the question, because this year in particular is the first year I'm just like, the fetters are off. I'm not going to be constrained by any of these categories, and there's more things going on than just those 5 things. So what I really want to show you is what each department is costing us. And by the way, that's not enough money. So like the hub needs more money than that, but the hub has taken on the task of trying to rent the space and trying to earn money. The media services department needs more money than that. They need to make more and pay more to their staff than that. So they've also taken on a sort of an enterprise aspect where they're going to take on paying clients in order to be able to provide free or super discounted services to you. So again, all we're doing is taking the very minimum that we need. That's how I make this budget. That's how we create it. The very minimum that we need, but to give you as robust of services as we can. I mean, I think the staff we have, and the services we provide, this should be a $2-3 million enterprise. That's what it should be. That's what it should cost. That's what it would cost if we were operating like a mega church, just paying everyone's salaries, handling their benefits, providing proper expense, and running all the facilities the way we do. But this represents our frugality, our ability to kind of like get the most out of a dollar. And part of the reason why we have to keep doing that is not just our own convictions with God, because we know you're like that. We know that you take the very little budgets that you have and you squeeze every drop of ministry potential out of the dollars that people give you, and your own money that you earn. You give so much of it back to the work you do and the people that you love. So it has to be reflected in the corporate community. We have to keep being like that because you're like that. And it's a beautiful family trait that we have, to not waste, and to get a lot out of a little. So, yeah, John. Yeah, I agree. There's a, I'm not going to name names here because, but there is a kind of a consulting coaching sort of ministry that charges money to its people, and it's doing pretty well around the country and so on. And some of those people were here, and they saw the underground, and they were like, what? This is amazing, and tell us more. And then someone asked me, he was asking me, like, do you charge for your consulting? Do you charge for your consulting? He's asking me. And I thought he was asking because they want me to come consult with them in their city. And so my answer was like, oh my God, no, how inappropriate. Like, I believe in you. I'm with you. This is my work. This is my calling. I wouldn't charge you for that. I mean, if you feel the need to support the underground or something and you have the extra money and you want to, bless that. If that's a relationship, that's fine. But I would never do that. How yucky. And I went on this long sort of biblical argument for how you wouldn't do that. You just wouldn't charge $2,000, $3,000 to consult. Because what is consulting? I'm coming in and trying to help you see the kingdom come in your city. Why would I get some sort of extra stipend for that or something? That's already my calling. That's already what I'm being paid to do. And if I want to do it, it's because I love you, because I'm in a relationship with you. And if I don't want to do it unless you pay me, what's that? Am I some sort of spiritual prostitute or something? Now I'm like a gigolo mercenary that has to be paid to come in and care about your people, or paid to come in and talk about the kingdom. And I just went on and on and on because I thought I was releasing him from the burden of having to pay me. And he goes completely ghost white because he was like, oh, because I just took this job with this thing, and I'm going to start getting churches to pay me to go in and consult, and I was wondering what you charged. So I was like, oh, well, I mean, that's cool too. So yeah, we don't monetize that, but we could. I mean, like the stuff the media services do. So you come in, you get a logo made. You just think, oh, that's sweet of Jesse to do that for me. Drew makes you a website. They shoot you a film. Add that up. Really go out and try to just price it. Just add it up. And you're talking about thousands of dollars. And then, oh, it's cool. I'll just use the hub for my event, or we'll have a conference here or something, and we'll just pay, whatever you pay, $10 so that someone cleans the toilets or something, and just add all that up. You're talking about thousands of dollars. So even if you're not given a grant, which is many of you will receive grants, you're using the services. And even if you're not using the services, you may one day. You may want to one day. Jesus said, whatever man sows, so will he reap. And this is true. If you sow into this kind of community, you put some in, it'll be there for you when you need it. And we will be there for you when you need it. A part of giving to this community is being part of the community, and part of being part of the community is when you need us, we will be here. And that is I think that's the genius of the underground anyway, is that because we share, there's all this value that's created, all this value. I calculated that we save the kingdom of God $80,000 a year because 50 ministries share one printer. Think about that. If all these ministries were to go and sort of pay their own contract, because I think we pay $200 a month or something like that for this print service, whatever, internet print, the really nice copy machine we have. So we'll just pay that, and everybody will chip in, and that $200 a month will get paid. 50 ministries will use that, and it's not just saving you money. I think it's saving the kingdom money. That's money that could be invested somewhere else. It could be spent in another way. And that's just what we do. That's exactly what we do. John, thank you for saying that. Okay, yeah. It was like a golf clap. Polite. One or two more things. This is our time. Okay. Yeah. Right. So EFT form, well, first of all, if you're not changing it, can you just leave it? So are you going to increase? Because then we'll give you a new one. If you're decreasing, I don't know where those are. Good luck. No. Sorry, Brooke. What was the answer? What's the correct answer? Yes? You can actually do it online. Yeah. So you can set up a profile. You can do all the EFT stuff online. By the way, we love EFT. I think EFT is a very godly thing to do because it like I said, it's like that first fruits thing. If you set up EFT, then it's a way of saying, look, right now I feel this commitment, so I'm going to make it. I'm going to lock it in. And then it's just happening. You know, it's a part of the commitment that you made. It's what I do. I mean, I don't know what I would do if I'm writing checks every month. Maybe I would cut corners, or because, you know, it's hard sometimes to make ends meet and to pay the bills each month. Yeah. Okay. So EFT takes 25 cents per transaction. Credit cards, PayPal, 2.5%. So it saves the kingdom money, saves us money and time if you'll do EFT. So that's a great thing to do, to consider if you're willing. By the way, is this okay? Can we just talk about this? Are you weirded out or put out? Have I crossed some line or anything? Am I right to assume that we're mature enough to talk like this, or? Not everyone's nodding their heads, so some people are like, okay, yeah, and then Johnny. Yeah, that's a new thing we're starting this year, or we'll be starting this year. One of the things that we're trying to always do is figure out what can we do, what can we centralize for the sake of everyone. And so we have this idea of creating a free clinic that at this point would run one day a week, that we already have a medical director, we have a primary care doctor, we have nurses ready to serve. I've got a place picked out for it in the hub, and the idea is to offer to our microchurches that free clinic. So the first kind of constituency that it would serve is people in your microchurches. So anybody in relationship with you that either doesn't have access to good health care, or doesn't have a doctor, or has no health insurance or something like that, can come and sign up with us and can be part of our free clinic. And what we want to do is not a walk-in style, but like a case style, where each person is known by us. They see the doctor like it's their doctor. We want to have a beautiful waiting room, proper exam room, where they feel like they go to a really nice place and they have a really nice doctor. And, well, that was weird. I have a really nice doctor. Anyway, so we want to offer that to maybe the first sort of 100 people, 100 patients. would just be underground people connected to the underground. So that's something we're going to build. I think it would be ready to launch in August. So be looking for us. We'll be contacting you and talking to you about, do you have anybody in your life connected to your ministry, connected to your microchurch that could use something like that? And again, we want it to have the highest level of dignity. So it's not going to feel like a walk-in clinic. It's going to feel like a doctor's office, and we just take care of the money for you. So we're working on all the kind of ins and outs of that. It's been a real learning experience for us. But I think it's going to be a really cool, beautiful thing. And eventually, I think we'd like it to grow into a multi-day thing that serves the community in a broader sense. But what I want to start with is serving you guys and the people you work with. Does that sound good? And that's, what is that, $16,000, something like that in the budget is going towards that, which again is just peanuts for what it is we're going to accomplish with that money. So it's just one good example, yeah. Johnny? Ladies and gentlemen, Johnny is dating my daughter, so this is my potential future son-in-law. That's just a little pressure to put on him. We love him, though. We love him. We love him. He's the best so far. So far. Sorry, man. Keep going. Just push through it. Push through it. What is an EFT? Electronic fund transfer. It's where you set up every month the money comes out of your bank account automatically. It's like magic. It's like giving magic. See why I like him though? Humility. He asked the question. Some of you didn't know either. Maybe that's a good note to end on. Man, I love you guys. Listen, tomorrow, what? There's a ton of food left, so eat it. Also, tomorrow, at some point, probably near the end, we will have kind of a little ceremony where we put our pledge cards forward. So even what probably is best is you go online and just do your pledge there, because then it's logged. And it doesn't have to be tomorrow. You can do it next week or some point. If you have to kind of figure out your finances, which you should think through anyway, figure out what's the right amount or what you can do. You can do it later. But what'll be cool tomorrow is, or if you want to make your pledge like with a paper card, you can. But I think everyone who's going to make a pledge, it's just good to just like go ahead and write it on a piece of paper, which we'll do tomorrow. They'll be available. So if you've thought through it and you are ready to do that, that's cool. But I love the sort of ceremony of it, the theater of it, to sort of say, here's mine for the year. Here's what I can do. And no one sees that figure. But it's in a sense it's equal. Each thing is like the widow's mite. It's what I can do, and I put it in, and God is honored by that, and we are together somehow in that. Okay, sound good? Good. Love you guys. I guess we have maybe about 40-minute break here, and then we'll have the last session tonight. So enjoy each other.